The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Tomorrow, the Bloc will have to vote on a motion to decide, yes or no, if they're going to keep the most centralizing and costly government in power in the history of Canada. What's bad is for Quebec are costs that have doubled in terms of housing and the doubling of the national debt. The Quebec Premier says that the Quebec nation doesn't want to show its confidence in this government. And even after the Minister of Immigration, the Liberal minister, said that he broke the immigration system, and even if the minister doesn't have trust in his track record, why should the Bloc have trust in him or them? Once again, you have raised this issue yesterday and last week. You need to address questions to the government. I see that the Honourable Minister is standing to answer, but I'd just like to remind members that it's important for questions to be relevant to the government administration so that members can provide clear answers. The Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservative leader, after 20 years in this House, does not understand yet how the House works. One thing they don't still understand is the importance of dental care for Quebecers. He talks about hurting Quebecers. What does he tell Quebecers in my region? Don't sign up for the Canadian Dental Care Program because it doesn't exist. While in Quebec, there are 800,000 seniors that are signed up for dental care. He's telling them, don't sign up. It doesn't exist. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. This government has doubled housing costs for people in the Quebec region and tripled the cost of housing in Montreal and made the cost of food skyrocket so that too many Canadians have had to go to food banks every month. It's also pushed Quebec to the breaking point with an immigration system that the Liberal minister himself has said is broken. So the Quebec nation does not want a centralizing and costly government. Will the members vote for an election to elect a common sense government? The Honourable Minister of Tourism. Mr. Speaker, there's a great deal of hypocrisy in this question. They're worried about people's lives, they say, but the Conservative leader isn't able to say clearly what his hidden agenda is. When the member for Grasslands has a trip paid to go to Florida, where he can sell a vision that is anti-abortion and anti-women's rights. The first thing they need to do is control their caucus and reassure women here in Canada that their rights will not be affected.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
9 years of the NDP Liberals. Costs are up, taxes up, crime's up, time's up. This government has doubled the cost of housing, doubled the debt, forced 2 million people to the food bank, raised taxes, and now they want a 61-cent a litre carbon tax that will grind our economy to a halt. The good news is, in a carbon tax election, Canadians can axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Can we bring it home now?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, maybe I can speak in a language the Leader of the Opposition will understand. They're going to cut the dental. They're going to axe the pharmacare. They're going to break the health system, and they're going to destroy childcare. The difference between those slogans and the nonsense he throws around, the vacuous garbage that's best left for Nabisco, not for the House of Commons, is that's the stuff he's actually going to do. And at some point, he's going to have to look in the eyes of seniors and tell them what he's going to do to dental care. He's going to have to look in the eyes of diabetes patients and say what he's going to do with their diabetes medication. At some time, the vitriol's done and the truth comes.
colleagues, we're skating pretty close to the line. I'd recommend for members to ensure that they don't do that. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I understand that when that member thinks of the prospect of a carbon tax election, he comes unglued and becomes very rattled and loses control of himself, waving his hands around because he's desperate to quadruple the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre. He's desperate to push a government takeover that will shut down people's private drug plans and ban them from having access to their medical plans. Common sense conservatives will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime, and protect your drug plan. How about that?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, this is the guy who said dental care doesn't exist. This is the guy that said providers won't sign up. Well, I got news for you. 750,000 people across this country got care. I also got news for you, Mr. Speaker, and that is more than 80% of providers has signed up. We're getting it done. So he can fearmonger, he can scare people, but we're going to get it done on pharma as well. We're going to make sure that diabetes patients get their medication. We're going to make sure that women get their contraceptive, because that's what freedom looks like. A woman who has choice over her own body.
I'd like to remind all ministers, all members, that answers should be directed, questions should be asked and answers should be directed through the chair. And I'm going to again ask members to make sure we don't skate too close to the line. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
What his plan does is quadruple the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre and imposes a single payer that bans women from using their existing private plans to get contraceptives or any other form of medication. That's what a single payer means. And that is not what freedom looks like, Mr. Speaker. What he actually wants to do is quadruple the carbon tax, which will grind our economy to a halt. It will be a nuclear winter for our economy. Why don't we allow Canadians to vote in a carbon tax election to decide if they're ready to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime?